Welcome to the Saturday in Athens podcast. I'm your host, Seth Saunders, joined as always by my co host, James Kim. Big one this weekend, brother. Business trip to Rocky Top. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Honestly, everybody always says that the most dangerous team is a wounded team, a team that doesn't have anything to play for. But after the showing Tennessee put on last week against Missouri, I'm not really sure. Like, you punch this team in the mouth, and I think they're just going to crumble, like a deck of cards.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, man. I, I know there's consternation about this because of the venue, and I think that's valid, right? I'm not debating that.
Yeah.
Any kind of SEC road game is a difficult task. It's just roster wise and what you've seen with your own two eyes. What about Tennessee gives you pause in the matchup with us? What about Tennessee makes you go, man, I don't feel good about this? Or the ones I had a trepidation about were Mizzou and Ole Miss, right? Because I thought they had weapons that had the potential to hurt us, and there were scenarios where you could see one of those teams putting a game together where they could knock the Dogs off. And maybe I'm just totally missing something or totally misreading it, man. But I do not see it with this Tennessee team or this roster. I mean, Mizzou had their way with Tennessee last weekend, and they didn't exactly look like world beaters against Kentucky either. And so I just don't know, like, what is this Tennessee team's signature win this year? What is the game that they won where you go, oh boy, better look out for Tennessee? I, I don't know.
And the funny thing is like everybody's talked about the improved defense for Tennessee, and they have improved. I mean, they've had a lot of sacks, but they've been getting gashed in the run game. And if our run game looks like it did last week, I mean, it's going to be a long day for that Tennessee defense.
Well, look, if you're making the trip to Knoxville this weekend, need to do a few things, man. Need to check out the Classic City Collective event that they are having there in Knoxville. Go out and see them. Also, if you are not a member of the 21 Club, hop on that. So many benefits. They had an awesome event last Friday night at High Bar. They host a great tailgate at home games. It's a great organization to be a part of. They do fantastic work with Georgia's student athletes. If you're loading the cooler up this morning for the road trip out west to Tennessee, make sure you got it full of Peach State Lights, unofficial beer of Georgia, but certainly the official beer of a Dog's tailgate. And then to gear up, man, make sure you got the Haver Supply in the suitcase, whether it's a Saturday in Athens hat, a Natty hat, one of their awesome Dogs t-shirts, whatever it may be. Make sure you have some Haver Supply lined up for the apparel game on game day weekend. So three partners that we love, three partners that have been really great to us. So please support them as best you can. Here's my thoughts, man. And well, let's talk about this first. Ole Miss game. I know we both had some worries about maybe that offense gashing us a little bit in the stretch game and getting outside with us, and maybe Jackson Dart doing some things to hurt our defense. And it looked like for, the first three drives that it was going to be a back and forth kind of down to the fourth quarter type game. I thought they looked a little bit out of sorts. You could definitely see that the defense was missing pop, but then it's like everybody kind of settled in, got their bearings, and it was off to the races, man. I mean, were you surprised at the outcome? I don't think either one of us expected it to be that kind of score. We thought they would win, and I don't think either one of us were real concerned about them winning, but I don't know that either one of us prognosticated them dropping a 50 burger on the lane train.
The offense didn't really surprise me. I mean, I didn't expect them to score 50, but the defense settling in and then completely shutting them down for three quarters, that surprised me, especially the way they looked in the first two drives. I mean, I expected them to, you know, get into the 30s after the first two drives because they were pretty much moving the ball at will. But as has been evident throughout the season, I mean, uh, Schumann and Champ, and Kirby, they just make great in-game adjustments, whether it be from quarter to quarter or from half to half. The defense has just adjusted every single week, every week it seems like they move the ball at will, first drive or first couple of drives, and then the defense just tightens the clamps. I mean, the most points we've given up all season is what, 21, and it seems like every week we're down 7-10 nothing. So it's amazing to me how much the defense reorganizes itself after that initial like punch in the face. So the defense was very impressive after those first couple of drives, and I mean they pretty much shut Junkins down completely, and he was just gashing us left and right.
I thought it was interesting too, man. Like, again, you mentioned they scored on the first drive. I think that's 4 straight games where the opponent has scored on the opening drive. It's almost like now, opposing team scores on the opening drive, drink. Like, it's just,
Yeah,
you just got to bank on it type thing. I also think what's big in this and what's been big in this all season is the offense's resilience when behind, right? Like, so when they are trailing, and I think Seth Emerson has posted this stat a couple different times in his articles over the course of the season, but it's some insane number. Like the offense has gotten the ball 18 or 19 times when they've been, I think, trailing or tied, and they've scored on something like 14 of the 19, which is incredible, right? I mean, that's what you
yeah,
want, is an answer, and to kind of keep things tight and allow the defense that space to figure things out. So yeah, I think that's true. Man, for me, CJ Allen was the story of the game. I thought, for being as young as he is and being as unseasoned as he is, to step into that role and not just play well, but I mean, homie, he was one of the best defensive players on the field. He led the team in tackles, had a sack. He was very noticeable all over the field. I thought he was outstanding, and if he can play that way in Pop's absence, and then when Pop comes back, you have that ability to then rotate him in, man. It just gives them more depth and more weapons, which is what you want at this time of year, is for kind of like a roller coaster, right? Like we're just escalating up that first hill, and you want to hit the top, man, right around CFP playoff time and be rocking and rolling. And
yeah.
so I think they're gearing towards that. I also think too, and we talked about this before. I had read an article or saw a guy on a show or something. And he's seen him. Georgia looks like a board football team to me. And when they're not a board football team, they're dangerous. And I think there's just a lot of merit to that. And Kirby talked a little bit about that. I can't remember if it was on Pat McAfee's show or on Game Day this weekend, where the thing that they have had to fight the most is entitlement from the guys coming into the program, where they're like, well, we're back-to-back national champions, and I'm just as much a part of that because I came to Georgia. I made the right choice. And he's like, nobody's earned any of that. You aren't a part of that. And so trying to get these kids to buy in that I've still got to do all the work, and I've still got to put in the time, and I've still got to be present and energetic when it's time to perform. I thought that was interesting and telling, and you can tell they've kind of fought that. And look, if we're being honest, if you've watched this team this year, I think some of that rings true, right? Like they've had slow starts, kind of takes them a little while to get engaged. And then I think the 2 outings, really 3, I think, because I think Florida, they were motivated too. But if you go Kentucky, Florida, Ole Miss, I mean, nobody in the country is beating those teams. The Georgia team that showed up in those 3 games, nobody's beating that team. They're just not.
Yeah.
And so I think if that team can figure out how to be that consistently, I mean, we're going to see them boys in Houston come January. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. What about Tennessee does make you nervous though? What about that roster, or what about what they do, or even just what about the environment makes you feel like, I've got some trepidation about this, or I've got some anxiety about this?
See, for me, it's everybody keeps talking about the environment and how loud it is and stuff like that. It is loud. It is. It's a tough place to go. But for me, Jordan Hare is much more of the the scarier place because of the bad juju surrounding that Jordan Hare than going to Rocky Top. For me, it's you know memories of horrible things at Knoxville is the game you were at, unfortunately, with the Chubb
Yeah,
injury. But
yeah.
I can't think of like horrible, god awful things and like gut wrenching events that happened at in Knoxville other than that game. Like I can remember being like just gut punched over and over again in Jordan Hare. So, but for me, like, I feel like when you go to Auburn, that if that game is remotely close at any point in time, that fan base is going to be engaged for the majority of the game. I feel like in Knoxville, you get up by 2-3 scores, 17 points, more than likely that fan base is going to, kind of disappear at some point, like early on. And it's just kind of half empty stadium. Like, for example, the year we won 41-0. And that wasn't a blowout in the first half, but at halftime, that stadium was relatively empty. So it's just, I don't know. They don't really seem to have a whole lot of faith in their team when they get punched. And I just don't see it. I feel like they're probably going to score early because that just seems to be our MO this year. They're going to be raucous and everything like that. And then I just don't see them stopping our offense at all, which is just, they're just not that. Their defense is not that good. If their defense plays like it did last week, we're going to run it right down their throat. Kendall looks the best he's looked the entire time he's been in Athens, and I think that the running backs are going to have a field day.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the environment there. Even when we were there in 2015, which was obviously a good day for the Vols with kind of how that game turned out, I never looked at Chris and was like, dude, it's deafening. Like I can't hear myself think. It's so loud. I wasn't struck by it that way. I will say this, okay? I think stadiums and environments, for the most part, is sort of a moving pendulum, right? And some of that is dictated by how good the program is. And so, woo, excuse me. I think some of that is dude, in the 90s, I'm sure Neyland was awful to go play in because they were really, really good in the 90s. But I think, over the last 20 plus years, they just haven't been a national player, right? As much as none of them want to admit that, they haven't been. I mean, and so I think that dictates things. To your point, I think the fans kind of go, "Well, here we go again." There's no way this is happening, and I think you've seen that a little bit at Sanford. Like, dude, Sanford is electric now, and it is a difficult, difficult place to go and play. And if we're having an honest conversation, I don't know that that's always been the case. I don't know that even when Coach Rick was there, that was a place that was daunting at all times. I think sometimes it was, like 2013 LSU, or there's myriad other examples, blackout game in '07. But I think consistently, it probably wasn't one where, you know, the stadium was as much of a factor as the team itself, and I feel that way about Neyland now. I don't think it has the same juice. To your point too, man, the offense is going to score, and I think they're going to score when they want to score, and so I just don't have this trepidation that I've had in former years, even in Kirby's earlier years. I mean, dude, I saw some of the metrics this week on the offense, and they're performing at essentially a mirror image clip of what the offense did last year. And dude, that was an outstanding offense. And I think we've been seeing that. Dude, they do what they want. They game plan and do what they want, and it's freaking outstanding. And so I just don't see Tennessee disrupting that, especially with as good as the offensive line has been playing, especially to your point. Dude, we texted about this. If Kendall's healthy, we are a problem because you pair what he looked like last week with how Dejan is every week, and then what we're able to do on the edge, and then, dude, getting Brock back. I mean, dude, we haven't talked about that. That guy is a mutant. Just an absolute freaking mutant. The fact that he not only was back, but then played the way he did. I mean, we talked on the show last week about, Tua came back quick, but he wasn't having to move and block and all these type things. And, dude, it looked like Brock. It didn't look like 80% Brock. It just looked like Brock. And so,
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, man. That guy's a freak of nature.
I can't. I mean, I expected him to get some, little play here or there, some glory play because it was the last game in Sanford, and for him to come out and, I think he had several catches and a touchdown, and he was out there blocking and just doing his normal thing, and it was just excited to see him out there and excited to see him start. And I thought it was just going to be like he was going to get a couple plays and then get pulled out because it was just his last game in Sanford. And man, I was shocked, and you could tell that the place was juiced to see him out there, and it was great for the offense to see him out there. But it was like, they are a well-oiled machine right now, and a key thing is they are getting healthy, which is one thing we haven't talked about. Like, this is as Brock gets healthy, and it's the first time all season. They even mentioned it in the game that Brock and Ladd have played together this season because Ladd wasn't really healthy until Vanderbilt, and then Brock got hurt. And as Brock gets healthy, this will be the first time they've both been healthy all season. So, I mean, that's a huge, huge boon for the offense that really doesn't need a boon at this point. So it's just I'm excited to see how the wrinkles that Bobo will throw in with those two.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the evidence of that was on Ladd's touchdown, right? They pulled that up and showed it on the telestrator.
Oh, yeah.
Where Brock sucked all coverage inside the hash, and then, Ladd's one-on-one, there's a big enough window for Carson to make the throw, and the safety was late, and touchdown, And so I do think that is what folks discounted about his absence was, look, it's not just the catches and the yards and all that. It's what he forces the opposition to do and the attention that he requires, and thus gives other guys lanes and opportunities to make a play. And I will say this too, man, I just think it's another argument and which kind of frustrates you, it makes you sad, but I really think if he hadn't missed the time, we would be having serious conversations about him going to New York, which I think justifiably he should be. Like, if we're having conversations about Marvin Harrison going, and Marvin Harrison's the best player in the country, then it's not a genuine conversation if then Brock Bowers is not also included in that conversation. So yeah, that part of it rubs me a little bit. All right, well, look, let's pick some games. This is it. How did we do last week?
6-4 for me, 5-5 for you. The one different game we had was Texas. You took Texas, I took TCU.
5-5, I'll take it. It's still 500. I'll take it. Just getting my behind beat this year. I'm real angry about it. Although, 7-3 in the pool, so maybe I should just start putting my pool picks on here so that I can make up some ground on you. I'm gonna force your hand on what you got picks.
I have no idea what I did in the pool. It's been rough the past couple of weeks. All I know is every week that my wife reminds me she's kicking my ass. So I know that.
So, homie, we got a weird docket this week. I'm going to start with, we're going to kind of bounce around a little bit because we're kind of searching for 10 games, but I am compelled by this one. Let's go game one in the American. SMU, who has just been blowing the doors off of people, going to the Liberty Bowl to play Memphis. Dude, SMU 6-0 in the American. I mean, they control their own destiny. And Memphis, I think, has been a fun football team, a good football team all year. SMU is an 8.5-point road favorite going to play the Tigers. How do you feel about that?
I actually saw this when I did our poll picks this week, and they're both 8-2, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I saw the spread, and I was kind of surprised. I know SMU's blowing people out, but it's in Memphis. And I stayed away from this one because I was like, I looked at the spread and I was like, my initial thought was SMU, but I was like, I saw the spread and I was like, I'm not gonna touch on this one. But of course, you picked this one for this.
Yeah, we're coming hot out the gate. I want to put your brain in a pretzel to start.
I'm probably gonna go with the Mustangs. I like SMU. Their offense has just not been stopped all season long. And I'm not sure Memphis can keep it. I mean, I think SMU wins handedly. The only way I see Memphis covering this is a backdoor cover. I think SMU rolls in it. SMU was my original pick when I was going through the pool, so I'll stick with that. I'll go with my gut.
Yeah, man, I'm taking the Mustangs. They've been I've told you this before, but each year I kind of settle on like 3 teams that I kind of ride each year from a spread perspective. And SMU, pun intended, has just been such a pony to ride. I mean, homie, they have been fantastic. Like, so yeah, I'm taking them. Their offense is crazy. I mean, this is, again, and you know this, but one of my arguments about why I love a bigger playoff, because I think teams continue to evolve as the season goes on. And like, dude, SMU has found their stride and found out who they are as a football team. Also, little side tangent on SMU. They're joining the ACC. You know, they took like zero TV money for something like, man, I can't remember. It's something outrageous, like 5 or 6 of the first years of the contract. And it's essentially the SMU money just said, yeah, we don't care. We'll cover it. And so, man, I'm telling you something. With NIL in play, SMU is a real spicy program to me, like to watch over the next 5 to 10 years, because homie, they were NIL before NIL was a thing, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I just, they are very interesting and very motivated. They want to be relevant. They pushed really, really hard to get in the ACC and be a Power Five. And so, like, yeah, man, I like what they got going on. Plus, man, they got to have some of the most underrated unis in America. Just
Oh, they're great. They're
nice. Yeah,
spectacular.
great unis. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking SMU. Okay, this is like the easiest pick ever. I don't even know why I put these on, because I know what you're going to pick. But college game day in Harrisonburg this week at your alma mater. App State coming to town to try to ruin a Sun Belt party for the Dukes. And dude, JMU 8.5 point home favorite, a little closer than I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, I mean, I know App State, good football team, and got the history and all those type things, but man, JMU has been an absolute wagon. Got some unfortunate news this week from the NCAA, but Virginia Attorney General and other politicians in the Commonwealth are fighting to hopefully get a better result for the Dukes. Free JMU, hashtag that. But yeah, again, I don't know why I'm asking this. I know where you're going to go, but how much are the
Yeah.
Dukes winning, my brother? Tell me that. Should I put real money on this?
I think they're going to win by 3 scores. They're just steamrolling people. Other than, I think their closest games were against Marshall and Old Dominion,
Yeah,
and
that's
both on
right.
the road. And they're steamrolling people. And every game the past couple of weeks have been relatively close for about the first 20 minutes, and about with 10 minutes left in the half, they just take off. And I don't know, they just like flip the switch and they're just like, all right, we're done playing with our food and we're going to just beat the crap out of you. And it ends up being like a 40-10, 43-17 game every single time. So their offense is unstoppable right now. They just, every year, they just find a new quarterback, through the transfer portal, someone who was, when they were in FCS, the quarterback was FBS previous year. And then now it's just someone who was at a bigger school, had a P5 school, and they bring them down and just plug and play. And this year's Jordan McLeod, and he's been absolutely amazing and put up stellar numbers. And, wish he had another year. Let me put it that way. So I think the Dukes roll. I don't think it's close. And going for that perfect season.
Yeah, no chance I'm not taking the Dukes in this. I mean, first off, I think you're gonna have a motivated bunch, because they're gonna, dude, they got a national stage, right? Game day is gonna be there. They're on at 2 o'clock, which is a nice time. You're kind of this pocket time, so you're gonna get some eyeballs there. Dude, it's tough to play at Bridgeforth. Like, it's just tough. That is a really, really good home environment. In America, y'all better get used to this. Y'all better get used to game day going to Harrisonburg. Y'all better get used to JMU being good. Like, I've said this on this show. They are the best football program in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it is not close. And I don't think they're going anywhere. They got the resources. They got a great ecosystem to support it. They've got a good culture. That fan base and that alumni base loves the Dukes. And I mean, dude, tailgates, good culture there. Yeah, I love everything about it. And I say that begrudgingly as a William Mary alma mater. But yeah, I'm taking the Dukes, baby. They're gonna roll over the Mountaineers. All right, game 3 on the docket. Big Pac-12 matchup, homie. Utah gave Washington all they wanted last weekend. Utah now going to, I'm going to say, surprising Arizona. Arizona sitting at 7-3, 5-2 in the Pac-12, 17th in the most recent CFP rankings. Arizona, it's basically a coin flip, right? It's a half point, so it's essentially a pick 'em. Where are you sitting on this one? Dude, looks like Utah's found a little bit of juice. Maybe Washington is good for any offense that ails, but looks like Utah's found a little offensive juice, which is kind of dangerous given the prowess of their defense. So, how do you feel about this one?
Oh, this one's tough for me because Arizona last week should have just demolish Colorado. I mean, they're a much better football team, and what surprised me the most was their defense did not get pressure. They're the only team this year to not really put pressure on Shedeur Sanders. And it's like, okay, if you're not going to put pressure on Shedeur Sanders with that offensive line, what's going to happen when you play a quarterback who will actually, their offense is designed to run the football first with their quarterback? So I don't know. I'm kind of torn with this. I'm going to stick with Utah. I love the Utes, so I'm going to go with Utah.
Yeah, so this is a pure just kind of gut thing. I'm going to take the Wildcats, and this is why. I think if you're Utah, you go on the road to Husky Stadium, you play in a monster game, a lot of emotion, and I think a lot of letdown too, because that was kind of, I think that's a game if they win, that's kind of a season definer, right? Like you look back on the 2023 season, if you're a Utes fan, you go, yep, we went into Husky Stadium and we spoiled Washington's perfect season and their, aspirations for a national championship or whatever it may be. And so I think there is some letdown on that. Also, I thought the quarterback got hurt, right? Is he 100% healthy going to play? I didn't see news on that. So I think that
I haven't
changes the
seen any news on
dynamic a
it.
little bit too. Also, I just think home fieldness is big too. So yeah, with it being a pick 'em like that, I mean, I think this is a fun game. This is one I will certainly watch on Saturday. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Wildcats. Plus, maybe I can steal one from you, so that may influence it as well. But yeah, that's where I'm rolling with that one. All right, let's go game 4 here. How about this one? How about North Carolina Clemson? Tell you why this is interesting to me. Clemson has, they come off the whole Dabo thing with, what was it, Tyler from Spartanburg.
Yes.
They get
The
a
Plants.
win. Yeah. North Carolina's having a nice year. I think again probably a little short of what they had hoped. 8-2, 4-2 in the ACC. Still one of the better quarterbacks in America in Drake May. I know there've been some more murmurs this week about Mac Brown's future, but they came out and said that Mac's going to be back next year. Clemson is a 7.5-point home favorite at Death Valley. This is why I think this is interesting. Like, that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. So, how do you feel about that?
Once again, this is a spread I saw in our pool, and I was like, "This spread stinks out loud. I don't get this spread.
Thanks out loud.
I'm
Yeah.
taking the Tar Heels all day long. I don't know if they're going to win, but I'm taking the spread. I don't care if it's in Clemson. It could be, at nighttime, in Death Valley 2.0. I don't care. I'm taking the Tar Heels to cover this because it just doesn't make any sense. Clemson is not back because they beat a mediocre Notre Dame team. I'm sorry, they're not. They're just they're a mediocre team themselves. Not saying North Carolina's world beaters, but talent. They have the better quarterback. So at the end of the day, that's where you always go. I agree with you. Drake May is better than Cade Klubnik, and I think that top to bottom roster wise, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think that probably North Carolina is just a better football team. They have the better weapons on the edge. They have a better quarterback. I'm going with North Carolina. I would not. I actually think North Carolina is going to win, but I definitely think they cover at worst.
Nothing about this line makes sense to me. Like, I understand Clemson being a favorite, and I'm okay with that, to be honest with you, given the home field and maybe they got a little momentum going or whatever it may be. But, dude, that's a big number. And I hate it. I mean, there's no chance I'm not taking UNC. Like, I just – and, again, there's reasons there's big buildings in Vegas, so maybe I'm the idiot. But this just seems like stealing. I think Carolina – I'm with you, man. I think they could win the game straight up, not just cover the spread. So, yeah, I'm taking them. That is a no-brainer pick for your boy. So, yeah, that's who I'm taking. All right, you're gonna love where I'm going with this. Game 5 on the docket. I'm gonna go with my darling of the 2023 season, the Running Rebels, going to Falcon Stadium to play Air Force in a monster Mountain West matchup. Both 8-2. Both 5-1 in the Mountain West. Air Force a 2.5-point home favorite after a humbling humbling loss to the Black Knights of Army. So, where are you sitting on this one?
Before that straight up demolishing, I probably would have gone Air Force. But I like what UNLV is doing. I really do. They've been really impressive this year. So I'm going with the Rebels. I'm going with from going back. I'm going to age us both. Going back from who would you say is the most famous person we know from UNLV back in our childhood?
Oh, dude,
Back,
this is not close.
not close. Larry
It's
Johnson.
Shark. It's the
Oh
Shark.
come, Larry. I'm thinking him. I'm thinking player. So well, yes,
Oh, okay.
that
Well, yes. Then I would go. Grandmama Larry
yeah,
Johnson.
grandmama.
Yes,
Okay, but yes, you're
and I
right. You're
think,
right.
dude, I think for us, like in the '90s, dude, I think Larry Johnson's pretty super famous, right? I mean, that UNLV team was, dude, they were a revelation,
They,
and so
yeah.
and Larry Johnson playing with Zoe and Charlotte for the Hornets, and like, dude, they were something, man. And yeah, Zoe was Larry Johnson was in Space Jam, wasn't he? He was one of the players in Space Jam, right?
I'm pretty sure he was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he was famous. So yeah, 100%, you're correct that Larry Johnson is most famous. But dude, Jerry Tarkanian is like cultural. I
Oh
feel
no,
like also. So yeah, all right, we'll go 1A, 1B
we're
on that. How
really
about that?
aging ourselves here. We're going
I
really
know.
aging ourselves.
There's probably a portion of the listener base that's going to hear this and go, I don't know who either one of those people are. Well, that means you need to educate yourself. I'm
Wikipedia,
pretty
real
sure there
quick.
was
So,
I think there was a 30 for 30 or one of those on those UNLV teams, which I'm almost positive there was, which is worth a watch, man, because it was fascinating and so many personalities on that team. But yeah, so I'm gonna take UNLV too. I just like what they do, man. That offense is William Mary's offense. So like, I dig what they do, and I think doing it with that type of talent is cool. I also think it's a good story for Barry Odom too, and I think his impact should be talked about. I will say this, man: Falcon Stadium is a very, very difficult place to go and play and get a win. But this will be a fun game to watch, man. It's on CBS Sports Network, 3:30 on Saturday. That is one I will be checking. I have kids soccer tournament this weekend, so it's kind of a tough draw for the early slate. But dude, talk about the win of all wins in their bracket. They're all done by 3:30. So
oh,
I
that's
got the entire
spectacular.
3:30 through nighttime window to like watch games, which is gonna be awesome. So okay, yeah, I think that's a fun one. And Mountain West implications, which is also great. Let's do what are we on game 6 here? Let's go game 6. Sunflower Showdown. K State, Kansas at the booth. Kansas State is a 9.5 point road favorite in the Sunflower Showdown. You like an EMA in this one, or are you rock chalk jayhawking and waving the wheat?
I think this spread is solely based off of Bean's health, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's unknown. It's up in the air at this point.
yeah,
I know he practiced a little bit. Leopold said that he practiced a little bit. I'm I'm going based off the fact that he's probably not going to play. Based off of what that injury we saw on Saturday, he's probably not going to play. That was not the body is not meant to bend that way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, 100%.
so I'd be shocked if he played. Chris Ballard's, I think his name's, I know his last name's Ballard. I think his first name's Chris. Is a true freshman. I mean, he did some fairly impressive things, but he's still a true freshman. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. Because of that, as much as it pains me, I'm gonna go with K-State.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. I'm gonna go opposite of you again. Maybe in some ways to pick up some ground, but I do think this, right? It's a home game. It's a rivalry game, so I think crazy things happen a little bit. I also think they're getting a little bit of a boost from a program perspective. Jalen Daniels came out this week announcing his social media that he is dedicated to KU, that he will be back next year, which I think is huge for that program. It's a young roster. They'll have a lot of weapons coming back. He also said, which I found very interesting, that I am going to come back with Coach Leipold. So I know he's been a hot name on the market with a lot of the vacancies. So I think that was I don't think that was unintentional. Does that make sense? Like I
Yeah,
don't think he would have said that or even announced that he was coming back if he didn't have some type of assurances that Coach Leipold was going to come back. Now look, obviously all that can change and coaches have said things to players before, but I think that is a steadying thing, right? And I don't know, man. I just think Kansas was going to come out and play as a very motivated football team. I don't know if they will win the game straight up. I hope they do, but I like them to cover the number at least. So yeah, I'm Rock Chalk Jayhawk, baby. Wave the wheat. Wave the
I'll be
wheat.
happy to be wrong on this one. I'll be rooting for Kansas. I'll be happy to be wrong. I hope they win the game, but it's just, I got to go with my head on this one.
Let's go game 7. Big one in the Pac-12, my friend. We are going out to Corvallis, Oregon. Washington coming off a big home win against Utah stays right in the meat grinder and got to play the Beavers in Corvallis. The dude, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, given what we saw last weekend and the composition of Oregon State's team, dude, essentially a pick-up, half point. So where are you sitting on this one?
Okay, let me ask you this. Where do you think I'm going with this?
I think you're 100% taking Oregon State.
You're exactly right. I am 100% taking Oregon State. And I just, their defense is enough to slow down Penix in that offense. Just enough. And, I mean, Washington's defense cannot stop a damn nosebleed right now. It is awful. Like, their offense has to carry them. And at some point, that's going to catch up with them. At some point, it is. And I think it's this week. Corvallis is a tough place to play, and I just feel like that this is the week that it's going to catch up with them. I hope it doesn't. I love their story. I love Michael Penix. I love that offense, but their defense is just, it's bad. It might end up being historically bad for a team with this record.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of with you. I think Washington has some warts, and I think they've started to show over the last 6 weeks. And as good as that offense is, as electric as it is to watch, and as good as Michael Penix has been, look, man, weird things happen in Corvallis anyways. I mean, there have been some crazy things that have happened. It's a night game. Well, I guess technically it's 4:30 start there, but it will get dark as the game goes on. And I like what Oregon State's got cooking, man. I'm with you. I like their defense. I like how they've played all year long. I think DJU is a good enough field general to lead them to a win against this Washington offense, man. Especially given, I just look, man. You shouldn't give up that many points in Utah. Utah's offense, it ain't all that, and so that just gives me a lot of pause, man. And so I'm with you, man. I'm going to take the Beavers. I think. I mean, obviously, given the spread, I think they're going to win straight up. I think they bust up Washington. And then what? That next weekend's Civil War. So, dude, Oregon State has an opportunity these next 2 weeks to really, really throw a wrench into the Pac-12's championship aspirations because they down Washington and then they down Oregon. Oregon goes in. Dude, I think it almost eliminates the Pac-12 from playoff consideration if that happens. If they win these next 2 weeks, it upsets the apple cart, I think.
Probably. I mean, the only way that happens, I mean, there has to be utter chaos. There'd have to be utter chaos.
Sure. Okay, what are we? Game 8? Game 8?
Yeah, 8.
All right. Game 8. Dude, this is an awful game, but we're picking it because it's a rivalry game, and it's one of the biggest rivalry games. I think, dude, it's the game. So, Cal, Stanford. Dude, I love this game. I've told you this story before, right? That my dad used to get Sports Illustrated subscription, and so like when you would re-up the subscription, you would get certain VHS videos.
Yeah.
And one year he got this video called Last Second Miracles, and one of the games on the Last Second Miracles like thing, it's like an hour-long video, is the band is on the field. So I've always been a little bit romantic about this game because of that, I think. So yeah. Cal is a 6.5-point road favorite going into Stanford Stadium to play the Trees. We're just going to call them the Trees since that's what their goofy mascot is. I know they're the Cardinal, but that's what we're going with. This is yeah. I mean, again, this is on here because of rivalry and because of the band is on the field. And so, where do you sit on this one?
How far has Stanford fallen? I mean, let's think about it.
Yeah.
just in like the last like four. I mean, just in the last like 4 years. I mean, pre-COVID, since COVID, really.
Hmm.
Pre-COVID, I mean, they were a formidable team, and since
Yeah.
COVID, they've just plummeted.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, not that Cal's really that good, but Cal can at least score. So I'm gonna take the Golden Bears. I think that they'll win and cover. Stanford's just, I mean, they're not a good football team. They're just not.
Yeah, man, that's a good point about Stanford. Like, you think about David Shaw and players they had. I mean, dude, Andrew Luck. Like, they had NFL guys
Yeah,
year by year. Um, that
I mean they
program's
have
in a tough.
TMC too. Don't forget about.
Yeah, that program's in a tough spot, man. I will say this too: Cal's record is not great this year, but they have played some people tough, and so I like them to go into Stanford and take care of business. I just don't think that Stanford team is good at all. Like, and that is just not a good football team. So yeah, I like Cal to go in there and win the game and have themselves a nice time in Northern California on Saturday afternoon. All right, game 9. I'm interested in this one mainly because of what happened Saturday and where both programs are. Okay. Florida is traveling to Columbia to play Mizzou. Mizzou just had a monster win over Tennessee. They were the featured game on SEC Inside this week. Did you see the thing where Drink goes over to Heupel post game and says, "We stand on business, Josh," but then like runs away like a scared little cat?
No, I heard about it. I didn't see it though.
Yeah, the optics of it I thought were funny. He like goes over and he's all purposeful. He's like, giving the like quick handshake, and he's kind of got this one liner cooked up to tell Heupel like, "We stand on business, Josh," which I think would have had a lot more effective and a lot cooler if he kind of leaned into it a little bit. But he kind of said it and then dude ran away as quickly as possible. So I don't know. It was a weird look, man. It's another one of countless examples of Eli just being a big doofus. So yeah, huge win for the Tigers. Kind of an L for Eli, in my opinion. But anyways, I say all that to say this: a huge win for Mizzou. Mizzou is positioned to go 10-2 if they control what they should control, and really, I think set themselves up to get a New Year's Six bowl. So yeah, I mean they got a lot in front of them. Florida is they got two chances. They could play Mizzou and they play Florida State to get bowl eligible. It has been a disaster of a year for the Gators, and if Billy Napier's seat is not hot, I would be surprised just because of how much expectation that fan base has. Mizzou is a 10.5 point home favorite. It is a night game in Columbia. What's your feelings on this, man? I think we both think Mizzou is going to win the game, obviously, but do you think they come back out after a dominant performance against Tennessee and reassert their will again with Cody Schrader and that offense and kind of keep showing America like, hey, we're real. Like, we are a very, very good football team? Or do you think they kind of, I don't know, take a breather a little bit and Florida makes this tighter than the experts think?
I think Missouri dump trucks them. I think this is an absolute ass kicking, but it's not so much because of how great Missouri is. It's because of how bad Florida is. I think Napier's lost the team. I know they put up a lot of points last week, but who hasn't put up a lot of points against LSU?
Yeah.
And I think the offense is going to do okay, but they're playing a much better defense this week. I think Mertz is going to be pressured a lot, and that quick passing game is going to have to be very, very quick, but he's going against a much better secondary this week. I mean, it's just I think their offense is going to struggle to move the ball. They're not going to be able to run the ball well, and they're not going to be able to really score. And I think that defense is just going to get shredded. I think Corey Schrader and Luther Burden and Mookie Cooper and Theo Weiss are just going to have field days. I think Brady Cook's going to be able to sit back there and just kind of pick who he wants to throw the ball to, and it's just going to be able to move the ball up and down the field. I do not think this is going to be pretty. It's going to be, and I still think that Drink, even though Dan Mullen's not there, still has that little bit of edge against Florida from what happened. I think it was the COVID year,
Yeah.
with like the like maybe the year after COVID, like the like
Darth
wanted to
Vader?
like fight the
Yeah.
the Halloween game, and he wanted to like fight the fans or whatever, like started the brawl before halftime or whatever that was.
Yep.
I still think he has that hate for Florida. So I really think that they're going to come out and just beat the tar out of him.
Dude, I feel pretty secure saying this. I think, and it's not really close. Mizzou is the best football team that we played all year. And, dude, I think they're legitimate. I mean, their defense is good. Cody Schrader is probably the best story in college football, if we're having an honest conversation. I mean, you're talking about a D2 transfer that nobody had on their radar. And he is going to be, likely, the Southeastern Conference's rushing champion. Like, he's having a monster year. I think if he didn't set it, he was extremely close to setting a Mizzou record for most rushing yards in a game and maybe total yards in a game. Dude, he had over 200 yards rushing, over 100 yards receiving last weekend. I mean, it was an incredible performance. And, yeah, I mean, dude, and he doesn't want any attention. I saw on the SEC Inside, he told Drake, he's like, I don't care about the record. Like, it's about us. It's not about me. And so, like, I mean, how you not like a kid like that, right? And so they got a lot of good things happening. They're the exact opposite currently culturally of Florida, right? Like they are moving in the right direction and Florida is moving in the wrong direction. And so I'm with you, man. I think they keep the momentum going. I think they understand what they have to play for. And I think it's business day for Mizzou. I think they just keep that train trucking, and they are going to thump Florida on Saturday. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I love them, even with that big of a number. I think they will come out and show out again. That offense is awesome. I really really like watching that team. Okay, the big one, the most important one, homie. It makes me sad that this is probably the last year that this will be a guaranteed game, an annual game that we know we're going to see. Georgia, Tennessee. I mean, homie, think about the history, man. It is my God, a freshman. It's Hobnail Boot. It's Dobnail Boot. Like it's so much, right? Just iconic moments throughout both of these programs, and we're just almost 99% not going to get it annually now. So take this in. Dogs going to Rocky Top. Going to be a whole lot of fun. CBS 3:30 game. If the Dogs can take care of their business on Saturday, it'll be the third straight season of being undefeated in the Southeastern Conference, which is incredible, right? 3 straight years, the Dogs are 10-0 to start the regular season. I mean, I know we probably sound like a broken record, y'all, but please don't take this for granted. Like, breathe this in, man. It's just incredible. Like, it is incredible what we are getting to experience as fans of our favorite team. That this is where we're at as a program, and this is now the expectation and quote unquote the norm. Even though I don't even want to put it that way because it's not normal in any way, shape, or form. It's not normal. It's just incredible, man. So Dogs are a 9.5 point road favorite going into Rocky Top. What you got in this one, brother?
Before I go and talk about the game, I do want to say one thing is that you mentioned Hobnail Boot. How great a story has Josh Dobbs been for the NFL this year? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Back up in Cleveland, journeyman guy, gets traded to Arizona, plays really well, starts game one, only been there a couple weeks, plays great, then gets traded to Minnesota, is there 4 days, not going to start. Their quarterback gets hurt. Hey, it's thrown in the fire, doesn't even know the guys' names, leads them to victory. Now the starter in Minnesota because they're down 2 quarterbacks. I mean, just a great story. And for all intents and purposes, he seems like a great kid, So didn't like him when he played for Tennessee because he seemed to shred us, but all for all intents and purposes, seems like a great kid. And for Tennessee fans, I think that's what they're going to have to hang their hat on this week. Is this season really is the greatness of Josh Dobbs and what he's going to do in the NFL this year. Because I don't see them winning this game. I don't see them really finishing the season strong. I mean, I know they got Vandy after us, so they'll probably win that one, but for what their expectations were going into this season after last season, this season for them is considered a disappointment. And I don't think there's any way to spin that. They're going to try to spin this into a positive, but Tennessee fans, I'm not talking about the realistic expectations from the media and everything like that. The fan base had realistic expectations that they were going to take the next step and compete for the SEC championship this year. And they fell flat on their face. And it really all fell apart when they lost to Florida. The defense, while improved, the offense came back down to earth. And you said all year that you thought as the season went on that the importance of Hendon Hooker was going to be noticed more and more and more. And it clearly was. This team became a running football team, not a passing football team like they were last year. Joe Milton just isn't it. I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm. He can throw it 100 yards, but he can't throw it accurately. So, and that's been his MO the entire time. That's why Hendon Hooker was the starter over Joe Milton. I just don't think that Tennessee has the weapons to really stretch Georgia's defense. They'll probably score early on, like I said earlier, because that's our MO. And then I think Georgia's just going to take over this game and then run it straight down their throat, keep the offense off the field. And I think Tennessee's defense is going to be exhausted because of the way their offense is designed. And I think Georgia wins handedly, 3-4 scores.
Yeah, I think it's all Dogs Saturday. I absolutely, obviously agree with what you said about Tennessee and their offense. I think this year has been a case study in how important Hendon Hooker was to what they did last year. And obviously, don't take who's the wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt. I mean, don't take him out of the equation too. Right? I mean, you got
Cedric Tillman.
electric.
Cedric Tillman was the other one,
and Cedric Tillman. And you have great players, all three now in the NFL, that aren't there. And then the expectation is just, oh well, it's Josh Heupel's machine and it's going to work. And in some ways, I think that could be true, but I think he has to have a quarterback who is the right dealer for what they want to do. And Joe Milton's not that. And because of that, man, I just don't have a lot of nerves about Saturday. I think they will sack him multiple times. I think he will make poor decisions and turn the ball over 2 to 3 times. That will then turn into points for the Dogs. This is one of those games that I think could get out of hand. I'm not saying 41-0, but it could be a dump trucking. Now, I will caveat that it's a road game, and I think Kirby wants to get in and get out with a win. So it's not my expectation that they're going to try to light up the scoreboard. I could very much see this being like a 31-10 type game, just because, to your point, we're going to run the football, we're going to grind clock, and we're going to get the hell out of here, especially given how this field surface generally plays. Like, we're not trying to take a lot of chances here. We're just going to stay north and south and get the hell back to Athens. But, yeah, I love the Dogs this week. I love how they're coming into shape. I think it's now, take care of your business on the road in Knoxville, head to Atlanta, take care of Georgia Tech week of Thanksgiving, and then it's all eyes on Atlanta again, right? I mean, another monster matchup at the Benz with Alabama. And so, Dogs got everything in front of them, and I fully expect them to take care of their business and rock and roll. So, yeah, I think it's all Dogs Saturday on Rocky Top, and I am fired up for it. So, all right, brother. Well, feels like 10-0 to me. You better look out.
Well, I still have several games ahead of you. So, I do want to say one thing. This is not an official pick for our picks, but I am going to predict Texas getting upset this weekend. Just want to get that on the record.
I almost put that one on the list because I think that's a fun, interesting little game, like Texas having to go to Ames. So yeah, I like that. I can get on board with that.
All right, them homie. Losing Brooks for the year, that is a big loss for them. So
yeah, 100%. All right, homie. Well, I will look forward to texting with you once game time comes around, and until then, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.